Hello there, my name's Scott and today I'm going to be doing a review on the Iatty, which I purchased second hand from a UKV forum member called Chelsea. Now I did have to buy it second hand because unfortunately they don't actually sort of produce the Iatty anymore. I think you can still buy like individual parts if you ever did need a replacement part. I don't think they actually sell like the full Iatty sort of kit anymore, unfortunately. But there is like a new Iatty 2 or Odysseus, I think it's called, or Odysseus, something like that, and that'll be coming out quite soon, I think. Okay, so nevertheless, then let's go straight ahead and I'll show you the Iatty in a bit more detail and show you how I get it all set up and then show you in action. Okay, so here we have all the parts that make up the Iatty. Now, like I said, I bought a second-hand one, so literally I just got all this row here, which is like the actual sort of main parts for the Iatty, and they did chuck in a few bits of wire as well, and also a bit of the wick. But what I've done is I went out and purchased a load more of the wick from the e-cig.co.uk website, e-cigz.co.uk. So I bought about 8 meters of wick there. But I didn't buy the actual the wire though from that website because of not just e-cig.co.uk, but all the other websites that are selling this sort of resistance wire for the rebuildable atomizers. They're charging about sort of £2 to £3 per metre. But if you go along to wires.co.uk, you can buy yourself 500 metres for £30 delivered. And so that's quite a hefty saving there. And it's obviously 500 metres is going to last you a very long time. Okay, so I got for the resistance wire, I got the 0.16 nickel chrome or nickel chromium wire. And for the zero or no resistance wire, I got the 0.20mm nickel wire. So that's wires.co.uk. Go along there and save yourself an absolute fortune, basically. Okay, then, so what I'm going to do then is go ahead and show you how to make up the actual Iatty, and then we'll have a good vape. Okay, so now obviously just please bear in mind that this is my own sort of personal way of making up the Iatty. You may do it slightly different to me. I've watched a few videos and everyone seems to be doing it sort of slightly different as well. And this is my own sort of personal way which works for me. So just because I do it differently to you doesn't mean that it's actually wrong. Okay, so, because you may be wrong. Anyway, so let's go ahead. And what I'm going to do first of all is take 2 lengths of the no resistance wire. I'm going to make them about sort of 10 centimetres long each. I'm just going to cut one off and then cut another off basically. And another one, so it's sort of roughly the same. There, that should do it. And that's it. So you've got 2 pieces of the no resistance wire. So once you've got your 0 resistance wire or no resistance wire cut to length, you then need to cut off some of this resistance wire. And I find that around sort of 4 centimetres long gives me it's pretty much sort of bang on for me, and I don't worry too much about how many coils I'm going to get out. I just find that if I cut off around sort of 4 centimetres, and regardless of whether that gives me sort of 3 coils or 4 coils, it's pretty much sort of hits the spot for me every time. So I'm just going to sort of roughly cut off around sort of 4 centimetres, so about that sort of length. Okay, so now we can move on to the next part. Now, because these wires are very thin, I'm hoping that you are still going to be able to actually sort of see them on the camera, especially where I've got it against a like a white background here. But in this hand, I've got the short resistance wire, and this hand I've got the longer no resistance wire. And what you need to do is basically just join the 2 ends, so they're just sort of touching at the top there. Hold it around sort of 1 centimetre below, make a little V, and then just start twisting them up to join them together. So it should look sort of like that. Hopefully you can see that. And now what you're going to do is then hold it here, take the no resistance wire and fold it back over. So it'll be like that. fold it down flat. Now I've seen other people, they've been sort of twisting it again, but what I like to do personally is actually take the wire and start wrapping it around it. So the single wire is going to be wrapping around the two pieces of joined wire basically. And then just flatten it down as much as you can near the loop. Don't need to go sort of too mental, but it should look roughly like that. Okay, so we've got our first bit done here, as you can hopefully see, and this bit here is the actual resistance wire. So now we need to basically just do exactly the same thing but at the other end. So you're going to take your resistance wire and your no resistance wire, just place them next to each other at the top here, like that. Make a little V and then start twisting them up again. And I'm probably doing it around a centimetre length there on both ends. And then once again we're going to take the resistance wire, which is this is what piece? This piece here, just checking, and then fold that back over. So hopefully you can sort of see roughly what I'm doing now. I'm just going to fold it back over, flatten that down. I don't know if you can see that little loop there. I'm going to flatten down the loop, and then take the no resistance wire and just start wrapping it around the two pieces of joined wire. So what you're left with basically is no resistance wire, then the joined pieces, then your resistance wire in the centre, then the joined pieces, and then your no resistance wire again. So no resistance wire, no resistance wire. Next thing you need to do is cut yourself off a piece of the wicking material. Now I've got some friends who have also got an Iatty, and they only use one piece of this of the wick, and it does work, but me personally I find that I have better wicking when I basically sort of double it up. So I've cut off around 12 centimetres of the wick, and what I do is I just literally double it over to make up 2 strands. Next thing we're going to do is start wrapping the heating coil around the wick, and for this you're going to need yourself a pin. Literally I've just got a regular sort of household pin. Just going to place it against the 2 strands of the wick. So it's hopefully like that. Hopefully you can see that. And then take the heating coil, and then I do it right from where the two pieces of wire are joined. Hold it against it, and then just literally just start wrapping it around it until it reaches the other 2 pieces of joined wire. And when I first got the Iatty, I was very sort of conscious about making sure there was exactly 5 coils, but I soon stopped worrying about that. And I find personally that it's the actual length of that gap in between the 2 pieces of no resistance wire that seems to play the most part for some reason. So as long as I've got around the same sort of about 3.5–4 centimetres gap in between, then I tend to get a really good nice vape out of it. Okay, so hopefully you can see there I've got the wick all wrapped around the coil, and now we can go on to the next bit. Okay, so what we have on this section is a small ceramic cup, and on the side you can see 2 slots have been cut out. Now the coil is going to, and the wick are going to sort of sit inside that ceramic cup, and the wick is going to come out of the 2 slots and actually sort of be held in place by these 2 other slots on either side of this piece here. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're just going to drop the coil right in the middle there if you can. If you're having problems getting it in there because of the pin, you just take the old pin out, and it makes it slide in there a bit easier. As long as you just sort of hold it in place afterwards, and it's fine. And just make sure it's seated right down the bottom now. Hopefully you can see the coil is in the centre. and you've got the wick and the sort of mixture of the no resistance and resistance wire, which are joined together coming out of either side there. Okay, so holding that in place, just going to take one side, place it into the slot, try and hold on to it, get that one out of the way, and then just do it so it's coming up through the other side. And then you're going to take this next section and just carefully screw that into place. Now you don't need to make this tight at all. This is when I first got this, I was really trying to pull that wire tight, and it really plays no benefit at all. So just do it so it's just literally in place, and then just slightly tighten that up, and that'll be fine like that. Okay, then we're going to go over to the other side. Get rid of that one. Pull this one down. Just place it under the wick there. And again in that slot, and this one is going to be going into the bottom piece, like so. So you've got the wire coming out, going down the side through the slots, and just slightly underneath there, and you can have it coming out the other side. And then you're going to take your base section, which is this part here, which has got your 510 connection at the bottom now, and that will slide over the top, and again just screw that into place. And you don't need to go sort of too tight, just make sure it's sort of biting up there. And that's it. So basically on one side you've got your wire coming down and being held in by the bottom one, and on the other side, if I get these out of the way, you've got your wire coming down and being held by this middle section. And then once that's in place, you can just sort of start tidying up by getting rid of these wires. So if you've got like a pair of scissors or something, just trying to cut it off as close as you can. And again on the bottom piece there. And that's it. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is, well actually what I'm going to do now is just going to add a bit of juice onto the heating coil, and just fire it up, check the resistance, and just make sure it's all working fine. Okay, so what I've done is I've attached it onto my ProVary just so I can sort of check to make sure that the heating coil is actually going to fire up, and I can also get a rough idea on what sort of resistance it's currently set at. Okay, so before you fire it up though, you just got to make sure you add some e-liquid to that heating coil, otherwise it's going to sort of basically just sort of scorch all the actual wick material. I'm just going to add a couple of drops, or 3 drops, and hopefully this will now fire up, which it does. And if I press go for the menu system, I can tell what resistance I've got, which is 2.1 ohms, so that's pretty much spot on for me. Okay, so let's go on to the next bit. Okay, so now we know that the coil is going to fire up and your resistance sort of seems pretty good. We're now going to start threading these wick material, or these 2 wicks, into the little slots that run down the side here. So literally just going to place those in there, and the top ones. And then we're going to trim off the excess at the bottom here. So I'll just sort of line it up with the top of the silver threads there, and get my scissors out. You have to bear with me because I'm doing this while looking at a monitor, so everything is sort of backwards and upside down. So I may cock it up a little bit, but cut that off to length, and that should fit in there nicely, hopefully. So it should look like that. And then just spin it over and do exactly the same thing to the other side. Slide those into the slots. So it should look roughly like that now. Obviously once I stop the recording, I'm going to do it so it looks a bit neater, but that is you should get the idea anyway. Okay, so I've just stepped away from the monitor so I can have a look at it properly, and everything seems to be as it should, so I can go on to the next stage now, which is adding this this cone. Now I've seen some people have doing this so it's on there sort of quite tight. I've seen other people put it on there and undo it half a turn. I've seen some other people saying about leave a millimetre gap. For me personally though, I'm literally just screwing it on. and that's it really. So as soon as you start feeling it bite, then that's it. So it just slides over the top and just screws on in place, and that's it. That's what you need to do. For the next part, we're going to be adding on the actual sort of main body or the tank section of the Iatty, and that literally just goes over the top and screws into place. That's it, all good to go. And the very last thing to do basically is now fill up your tank with e-liquid, put the top on, and then you can start vaping basically. Okay, so I've just got some menthol flavoured e-liquid here. I'm going to fill up the tank, and I'm doing it so it's just coming up to the top of the like the cone there. Maybe able to add more, but that's what I've been doing, is working fine for me. We'll see what I'm doing. Oh, I need to save a bit of this juice for later on, so I'm going to put that in for the moment. So hopefully you can see I've still got a fair old amount of juice in there. Now take your top, screw that one into place. And then take your mouthpiece, and then that screws on as well. And that's it. Hopefully you can hear that, it's all firing up correctly. It's all built, all fully assembled. It's going to show you in action. Okay, so that is the Iatty. Now I'm sure some of you are going to be looking at those close-up shots and thinking, you know, it looks like quite difficult to do, maybe a little bit tricky, maybe a little bit sort of quite long-winded. But you have to bear in mind though that when I'm doing my close-up shots, I've got my hands down here in front of me, but I'm actually looking over that way at a monitor. So it does make it a little bit more difficult. And the reason why I have to do it that way is because obviously I want to make sure I keep my hands in shot, and also I want to make sure that I'm keeping my hands in focus as well. So obviously when I'm not actually doing any recording and I make up an Iatty, I can probably do the whole thing from start to finish, you know, probably about a minute and a half, maybe sort of 2 minutes maximum. You know, so it really is not as difficult as what it may seem in those close-up shots. Okay, so I've got the Iatty filled up with some 18mg strength menthol flavoured e-liquid. The coil was reading 2.1 ohms, and I'm using a Pro Vary here. I've actually got it just set at 3.6 volts. Now that is quite a low voltage, but you know, it is actually working really well just at that 3.6 volts. As you see, you know, even at that low voltage, you're still getting, like, you know, plenty of vapour coming out of it, which is a really good thing, because obviously not everyone has like a variable voltage device. You might just have like a Viva battery or Tornado battery, or you know, your GGTB or GGTS, you know, just using sort of regular 3.7 volt batteries. And that means that, you know, you can make up an Iatty and you're still going to be getting pretty much exactly the same sort of vapour as what you're seeing here at the moment. Now obviously one of the advantages of a variable voltage device is that, you know, if you're not getting enough vapour, you can sort of boost up the voltage and that'll make the atomizer run a little bit hotter, and that'll give you a little bit more vapour. But like I say, you know, just at 3.6 volts, plenty of vapour coming out of this. And the other good thing is that you're getting plenty of flavour too. Now, I only really vape two things, and that'd be like a tobacco flavour or a menthol flavour. And all I can say is that, you know, with those sort of type of tobaccos and menthols, the flavour is coming through really nice and strong, especially with the menthol. The menthol, you know, comes through fantastic using the Iatty. Excuse me. And now, obviously, I don't really use sort of fruity flavours unless I happen to be like reviewing one. And so I can't say to you, oh yeah, no, fruity flavours come through brilliantly as well. So it could be a case of that they might not work that great in the Iatty. But what I can tell you is that with the flavours that I normally vape, the flavour comes through absolutely spot on.
And the same thing goes for the throw hit as well, getting plenty of throw hit out of it. What was I going to say? Now, I've not had any sort of wicking problems either. You know, it seems to work pretty much sort of perfectly. I've never ever had like one of those sort of nasty dry burnt hits, you know, which really sort of cane the back of your throat. Because sometimes with like the tank sort of rebuildables or the tank atomizers, if the juice isn't wicking fast enough to the heating coil, then you get like a really nasty burnt taste. I've never had that at all. Occasionally I've had it where the flavour's not been quite 100%, which makes you sort of think, oh, it's on the verge of sort of drying out. But literally, if you just sort of take a break for about 20 seconds and then like it comes back and it's all, you know, perfect again. But even then, that has been like very rare. Like, never had it flood either. I've had it where it sort of gurgles slightly. So for example, if I leave it overnight, so obviously we've been sort of sitting there for sort of, you know, 7 hours, something like that, and I have my first vape in the morning, and you do hear that bit of a gurgle, but you just got to take, you know, a couple of sort of slow, sort of gentle drags, and that will soon go away, and you're back to sort of vaping perfectly again. Now, the only sort of two negatives about the Iatty is, one, it's not being produced anymore, so you have to sort of try and grab yourself one from the from like the various sort of electronic cigarette forums. They have like classified sections where, like, you know, forum members sort of buy and sell their goodies. And the other one wasn't even really a negative. No, the other one was the fact that I didn't get one sooner. Which is probably my biggest regret about it, really. Like, when the Iatty first come out, I think it's about maybe 6 or 7 months ago, and I was sort of quite interested in it. And I started noticing that people who bought one, they was posting on the forums saying that they'd gone through all their wire on the first day because they couldn't get the coils right. They were saying that they didn't know how to set it up properly, and they just basically just sort of having what seemed like quite a lot of problems, and it sort of put me off a little bit. But then I went to Vape Fest a month or so ago, and my friend Julian, he bought a Iatty there from the e-cigs.co.uk sort of stall that they had, and no, we had a little bit of a chat about it at Vape Fest, and then like, I've got a video chat room, and like there's quite a few of us sort of going there most nights, and he was sort of showing me in now, and you know, he was vaping like a trooper, and like he was saying it was actually sort of quite easy to set up, which then sort of rekindled my interest in it. And then luckily, you know, after doing a bit of searching on the various forums, I come across the second-hand one, and you know, snaps it up like a shot. The only slightly annoying thing was it cost me 90 quid, and that was £70 for the Iatty, and I paid an extra £20 for the stainless steel mouthpiece. And literally 10 minutes after I paid for it via PayPal, another person wrote to me and said, "Hello Scott, I've got an Iatty for sale here, you can have it for 55 quid. But you know, nevertheless, you know, £90. I've got absolutely no regrets at all. It's probably, you know, one of my best sort of vaping purchases, and it's, you know, I've not really been using much else since, apart from stuff where I've, you know, had to use it for obviously like review purposes. But as my main vape, you know, the Provari and the Iatties are pretty much a blinding combination. Okay, so there's not a great deal else I can really sort of tell you about it. So if you fancy trying one out for yourself, you know, good luck trying to find one, really, because these are like gold dust at the moment. But you know, you'll have to just basically go around like the various electronic cigarette forums and just keep your eye out for a second-hand one. And if you do get one, then you know, really is a very good purchase. But also, there is another new version of the Iatty coming out, maybe in the next month, I think. Not 100% sure. I think it's going to be called the Odysseus or Odysseus, something like that. You know, so you know, keep your eye out for that one. Okay, and guys, thank you very much for watching, and also come along and visit my website at www.ecig-reviews.com. That's e-cig-reviews.com. Cheers, guys. Happy vaping. See you later.